No Sweat is a grassroots international solidarity campaign dedicated to building connections of mutual aid and support between workers around the world, with a particular focus on the garment industry. Ahead of their second show tomorrow, 12th of August, at the Black Heart in Camden, headlined by the excellent Harrowed, I caught up with Dan from Riffs Against Sweatshops, a no sweat initiative focused on the heavier end of the music spectrum. Can we keep the politics out of metal and punk? No, get fucked.
Thanks for taking the time to do this. This is great.
No, thank you, man. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's a bit of a new thing. I've been thrown off social media. I genuinely don't know why, but not for anything bad. A lady I met who does computer stuff said it might be the algorithm, just large tattooed man saying political stuff. Because I'm a stand-up comedian, and obviously some of the stuff I do is satire, and she said it might not got the satire. Anyway, so the point is, you have to have some sort of digital presence apparently to do comedy. I thought, I'll do this.
Excellent.
It'd be comedy and music, but then also I want to do a lot of campaigns and stuff. So this is perfect, activism and good music.
Excellent.
So, I'll be along Wednesday.
Oh, fantastic. It'd be nice to meet you in the flesh.
Certainly not going to be a no sweat though, is it? It's going to be 32 degrees, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's going to be boiling.
Well, tell us a little bit about Riffs Against Sweatshops and how did it come about? And all that.
So the concept of Riffs Against Sweatshop came about from myself and another No Sweat member called Rob having a conversation with Jay about running a new campaign for No Sweat, which was based around the sort of UK, and I suppose international, but obviously we're starting off UK metal community. Jay and some of the other guys at No Sweat had run Punks Against Sweatshop 5 or 6 years ago, which was obviously a campaign they ran, which revolved around a documentary they made about the No Sweat campaigns, and they got a bunch of supportive, predominantly left-wing and anarchist punk bands to kind of endorse No Sweat, buy No Sweat projects, and sort of shout about the cause of helping to promote union-made clothing lines in the global south, where lots of clothing companies make their products. A lot of these companies not using union-made workers, so we were very much making the case. And we felt like, or Jay and the team felt like the punk scene was the ideal place to try and promote this message. And that was very successful. They worked with people like Oporajeo, they worked with Propaganda, they worked with Rebel Riot, who are I'm never quite sure what the correct term is. They are a punk band from Myanmar who now live in Thailand because of the junta. And also Myanmar was one of the areas where we campaigning, where big fashion was very prevalent in terms of using sweatshop factories there. Punks Against Sweatshop was very successful, and we, because me and Rob particularly had more of a foot in the metal community, wanted to do the same thing there, because we felt that even though not all metal is explicitly political, I do think there is a thread which runs through the entire scene where people who are into it feel a sense of solidarity with one another, and whether they may not frame themselves as Marxists or anarchists or even trade unionists, they do have a sense of fairness. And I feel like promoting the message that we all love t-shirts. T-shirts are a huge part of the scene, a huge part of how bands make their money, a huge part of what it is to be a metal fan in terms of like presenting that to the world. It's a huge part of just, you know, even as you approach your sort of mid-40s, still kind of repping who you are. And we felt that that audience would be really open to the idea of saying, like, look, this is a big part of your life. You would hate to be ripped off in your workplace. Don't buy from people who are ripping off people in theirs. And so that's how the initial sort of messaging came about. Comedian Andrew O'Neill, who's also a member of No Sweat, they are one of the most metal individuals I've ever met in my entire life. And they were also very keen to sort of work on this campaign, so it sort of felt like a no-brainer. And we developed it first into one show, and now we've got our second show coming up on Wednesday.
Yeah, metal is quite a working class, you know, driven genre, if you like. And therefore there is that sense of fair play and solidarity in the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so who's on the first lineup?
We did it at the Dev, like a legendary metal pub in Camden. We had Meltzer, who are Andrew O'Neill's blackened thrash atomic war band. Basically sort of birthed the idea from watching film threads numerous times and just loving thrash metal. So they played Carthage Must Be Destroyed, a grindcore band with a slightly historical bent. Their guitarist Rob is also a member of No Sweat.
What do you mean, slightly historical bent?
They got a few lyrics in there which are literally based on sort of, you know, battles and stuff like that. But they're also like one of those bands which uses historical allegory as like political lyrics.
Oh, nice. Nice.
I will never say this name correctly. Lobotomica. Cross between Lobotomy and Metallica, I assume. They are a kind of contemporary British thrash death metal band. They were incredible, like really, really amazing set. And they've been very supportive, of course, so far. And then it was headlined by Praetorian, who are kind of 17 tons of sludge metal, like incredibly powerful band. Like their lead singer absolutely dominated the Dev that night, just standing in the middle of the crowd bellowing at people. It was a really good introduction to the campaign and kind of us getting our message out there. And we are, if they ever hear this, forever grateful for the team at the Dev for helping us set that up. As it was my first time setting up a gig, and they were super supportive and have been consistently.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the whatever it is it's called. And so the second show is Wednesday, 2 days from recording now on Monday. So we got on Wednesday.
So the second show, Wednesday 12th of August, will be at the Black Heart, yet another legendary metal pub in the middle of Camden. We are very lucky to have Harrowed headlining for us, Bournemouth-based, like hardcore metal kind of black sludge band. Been going for quite a while now and just putting out some amazing material. And I've been told the super intense live performance. I have not been lucky enough to see them live yet, but I do know people who have, and it should be fantastic. Next down from them, we have Commoner, who are a doom metal band based in Norwich and London. Various members of that band have backstory sort of in the anarcho-punk crust scene as well. So they've been very kind of like, we love this cause, we really want to be involved. They are a classic, like Sabbath's Inviter style doom band, which should be a nice sort of contrast with the heaviness of the rest of the set. The third band we have on is another Bournemouth band called Mortuary, who are relatively new, and they exist in a sort of like sludge doom funeral blues vibe. They've been very cool. They've not been playing that long. They've only got one demo at the moment, but they've already generated a bit of a following and they seem really keen to be playing with us, so that's great. And then again, opening we have Meltzer, who should tear the place apart. That's doors at 7 on the 12th.
Do you think there'll ever be, I mean, I'm not very good with the genres, to be honest, but I mean, you know, in that Venn diagram of metal punk, will there ever be an argument between punks against sweatshops and riffs against sweatshops about whose band should be?
I guess the sort of idea between having the campaigns be slightly separate is because there is quite a large Venn diagram of punks who like metal and metalers who love punks, and various bands within the metal world and the punk world who are more political, more sort of engaged with campaigning and stuff like that. I guess what both campaigns are doing is making sure there's space for people outside of the Venn diagram, if you like. So there's people who probably just like your classic, like rock and roll, blues orientated punk rock, and are less interested in a kind of crossover thrash hardcore thing. And we want to have them involved in the Riffs Against Sweatshops side. And then there's people who are, fans of epic heavy metal, things like Kira Fungo, Eternal Champion, like Dungeons and Dragons metal, who are not interested quite so much in the music, which is more kind of, I suppose, street level, political, like real life issues. But the fans themselves will still care about the issues. So the point of Riffs Against Sweatshop is we wanted to get to them as well as the metalheads who would probably also come to a Punks Against Sweatshop show.
Yeah, and I suppose Riffs allows you to sort of expand as well a bit. Like if there's always something. They're not metal. This is where it's riffs. So as long as there's a riff,
we've kept it loose. A campaign revolving around the heavier end of music.
Yeah.
On at some point. But the point is to get involved and get our message out to that community.
Is there any speakers or anything on? Sometimes the punks, not always, but sometimes they'll have a speaker come on. Is that a plan?
In future gigs, we might look at doing something which would be more band, panel discussion band, potentially, where we have people more directly talking about the campaign, representatives of the trade unions we work with talking, and probably make it a bit more of discussion presentation. At the moment, at the first gig, and probably at the second gig as well, we will just have either myself, Jay, who is a sort of glorious leader at No Sweat, or Andrew, just getting up and basically saying what we're about and pointing people in the direction. But at the moment, they're kind of more straightforward. Us handing out some materials and chatting and kind of creating an environment where we can get our message across.
I think that's the most important thing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What does someone buying a ticket, what are they contributing to?
So, No Sweat are two things, essentially. One, on the one hand, we're a grassroots anti-sweatshop campaign group based in the UK. We will be doing some things like protesting outside Zara, basically targeting companies whose supply chain is basically using sweatshops. Whether that's intentional or just something that they're turning a blind eye to, we are drawing attention to. And the second thing is that No Sweat runs its own union-made clothing brand. This was something which was decided about 15 years ago. Basically because as much as we are campaigning, the industry wasn't changing fast enough for our liking, and we decided to put essentially our money where our mouth is. And we work directly with trade unions in the territories where a lot of clothes get made, particularly Tamil Nadu in India, Bangladesh, and in Myanmar. And the unions are basically advising us on what factories have the heaviest union presence, where they have the most bargaining power. We then will do deals with these factories to have our t-shirts, hoodies, our tote bags made there. And that in itself gives the union more bargaining, because we are a client which has been brought in by the fact that they're a unionised workforce. So in terms of where the money goes, any profits we make from the gig, in terms of covering the expense of the gig itself and afterwards, will go into our Garment Workers Solidarity Fund. We're a non-profit organisation. We don't take shareholder profits of the company. We reinvest everything either into the t-shirts or into the Garment Solidarity Workers Fund, where we basically have a pot of money which we use to support trade unions and workers associations around the world to help organise sweatshop workers.
Great stuff.
A key thing for us also is being a musician, being in a band at the moment is difficult, right? It's incredibly expensive to even just go on tour. And we fully understand that merch is such a big part of how a lot of bands break even when they're touring. Like, they need to sell it to their fans, And we're never going to basically slag off a band who uses one of the bigger companies we know have sweatshops, because sometimes it's the amount of money that you're paying. But coming to us, doing limited runs, doing full runs, doing specific tour runs, everything like that helps us and will help get our message across. So yeah, we're not there to be lecturing people. We're there to just give them more options.
Yes, good way of putting it. And it's not just bands either. A lot of people use No Sweat.
I know several trade unions buy from us. A couple of stand-up comedians buy from us. I think other campaign groups like Love Music Hate Racism have bought from us.
Something.
Yep, the Hunt Sabs have bought from us before as well. So it's been, we have a good base of people who are both supporting the cause and buying from us.
Yeah, fantastic. And what got you into it, Dan?
I became aware of No Sweat, I think, during the Punks Against Sweatshops campaign. Seeing clips of that circulating on the internet, and probably going to a couple of shows where bands were selling No Sweat merch or printing on No Sweat merch and selling it and talking about it on stage. Then during lockdown, I remember picking up there was a No Sweat podcast, which ran briefly, which was hosted by Andrew O'Neill, where they talked to various people involved in the sort of garment workers solidarity wider movement, people like Labour behind the label and stuff like that, these groups who are exposing what's going on in the industry. I have a wardrobe full of band t-shirts, and when I went to look at them, a lot of them were from the companies that are doing this. So I reached out to Jay and got involved.
Excellent stuff. And you're a lifelong, were you in bands? Or
No, sadly not. No, I'm musically talentless, but I am a lifelong metal and punk guy. I got very into metal when I was in my teens, like Scandinavian death metal, Norwegian black metal, doom, all that sort of thing. And then as I got older, I became more politically involved and I suppose drawn a little bit more towards punk and hardcore as well. But yeah, the sweet spot where music and politics meets, when it's done well, I think can really impact people and change people's minds, change people's lives. So that's why I think the campaigns like this, as small as it is at the moment, we're hoping to grow it, could have a real impact.
Absolutely. No, you're right. When it's done well, it changes the world, doesn't it? So what's your dream lineup for Riffs?
I'll give you my real life one and then my fantasy one, because most of the fantasy ones are bands that have either broken up or members that passed away. Yes. So in real life, we'd love to have some of the bigger, like, contemporary metal bands. A Gojira headlining would be ideal, or a band like Bleed From Within, who are, at the absolute top of their game at the moment. We want to be reaching those bands who are kind of getting into the mainstream, breaking into that sort of headline metal world. So, okay, well, for headliner, we'll go Gojira. First support, we'll go with Bleed From Within. Why not? I'd love to work with Forlorn. They're a fantastic band coming out of the UK at the moment. I'm going to go with the...
Yeah. Awesome. And what about fantasy?
Absolutely love to have Celtic Frost headlining. I would go with Celtic Frost, Cathedral, one of my all-time favourite bands, Bolt Thrower, a fantastic legendary band who are also very in line with, I think, what we're doing as well. And then Mayhem, because that would just be hilarious.
Nice. It's cool. Anything else you want to plug or anything?
If any of your listeners want more information on nosweat.org.uk, and that will give you all the information about both the campaign and the t-shirts. You can also give us a follow on Instagram at no_sweat_UK.
Nice. Okay, Dan. Appreciate that, mate. Thank you so much.
No worries. Really nice to chat to you.
Cool. Cheers, Dan. Appreciate it. See you Wednesday.